Adrian Plass, who is a very successful writer on Christian themes, tells the story about himself. When I was 16, I loathed myself. I hated my face and my body. I'd been expelled from school for truancy, and I had neither a job nor any visible prospect of ever getting one. The chaos inside my head was quite frightening. To make matters worse, I had developed a strategy of using scathing sarcasm in the conduct of my relationships with almost anyone who made me feel silly, and that is almost everyone. Miserable and unpleasant, I was definitely the sort of lad my mother didn't want me to go around with. Then I was introduced to a married couple who lived in a secluded cottage. Their home was a place of log fires, oil lamps, interesting books, stimulating conversation, and, as far as I was concerned, total acceptance. Murray and Vivian took the loaves and fishes of my better self and believed in me so wholeheartedly that in their presence at least, that better self flourished and grew to a point where I actually began to believe I could be worth something. Murray and Vivian weren't Christians, nor was I when I first met them, but their unqualified support was the first and most practically effective step in the salvation of Adrian Plass. I will always thank God for them. It was something like that for a man called Matthew. Now, because Matthew was a tax collector, most people regarded him as a rat. His story was a first-century version of Adrian's in some sense. Tax collectors were very unpopular members of society. It wasn't just that paying taxes is never regarded as a matter of joy. Rather, their unpopularity lay in the fact that these Jews were the agents of a foreign occupying power. They were seen as traitors, and as such were hated by their compatriots. Moreover, they were a corrupt lot. They were entitled to make their living by taking a share of the taxes. And human nature being what it is, they generally took far more than their fair share. Small wonder that an ancient writer tells of seeing a monument dedicated to the memory of an honest tax collector. Honest men in this profession were so rare that the citizens commemorated one when they found him. So people like Matthew were lumped together with sinners and outcasts, and no respectable Jew would associate with them. But then this outcast, this man who was a failure in almost every way that really mattered to respectable society, met up with Jesus. Jesus believed in him and loved him for who he was. As Adrian put it, Jesus took the loaves and fishes of his better self and believed in him so wholeheartedly that the better self flourished. Those looking on, who were the respectable religious people of the day, found Jesus' acceptance of people like Matthew very hard to take. As he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with Jesus and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Yet Jesus saw beyond what people presented to what they could become. Jesus believed in them. As he explained it, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners. This is something that we can too easily forget, not only when we look around at others, but also perhaps when we look at ourselves. I'll soon be spending time undertaking my annual spring clean of the windows at home. It's a very satisfying job as the window panes are transformed and we'll see again with clarity the garden and neighbouring houses. The windows need it, having been marred with all the grime and pollen that's been deposited over the past year. And it struck me that if I cleaned only clean windows, I'd be a fool. Just as a relief agency that helped only the wealthy would be a laugh, and a hospital that admitted only the healthy would be a joke. This is Jesus' point. He came to call outcasts and sinners. So why should people be surprised to find him associating with such types? Some people think that if you put your nose inside a church, you see yourself as terribly virtuous. We know differently, don't we? Our worship always begins with a time in which we remember our failures and sins. Even on our best days, we Christians are an unwashed lot. Not physically perhaps, but certainly spiritually and emotionally. Whatever our outward appearance, we know that we're sinners. And we're painfully aware of letting down God and ourselves and failing to love other people as we've been called to do. The people who gathered around Jesus, the Matthews and the like, the sinners and sick ones, felt just like that. Perhaps they didn't feel worthy to be invited to dinner with Jesus, but at least they had the good sense to take him up on the invitation. God isn't particularly interested in the upright people who are so sure of their virtue and goodness. God invites people who know they are unworthy, who might be rats like Matthew, who like Adrian are the sorts that our mothers wouldn't want us to go around with. God invites such people because they know the healing, new life and acceptance God offers them. The good thing is that the good news affirmed in today's gospel still holds true. Jesus still hangs out with sinners, with the sick, with the outcasts, with you and me. It seems to me that sometimes very respectable and self-righteous people hijack the Church of God. Consequently, its image has been changed into the opposite of Jesus' intention. But underneath it all, the same reality is there. The reality of a gracious and kind God who likes to keep bad company. A God who shares bread with sinners and tells them they are far more than they think they are. They are, like Matthew, beloved children of God. Amen.